My name is Martin. I'm a driver coach who specializes in open formula. In this video, I'm going to run you through day one testing in Bahrain and give you my thoughts and insights. If you're interested in what those are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're going well. I hope you enjoyed the live stream yesterday. And I'm aware that I missed 2 super chats yesterday as well. So sorry about that. I will address those in the next live stream, which we'll do before day 3 in Bahrain. Let's kick off with the weather. I'm going to just quickly draw your attention to temperatures and winds. We spoke about this yesterday. A lot of the stuff in this video we did touch on yesterday, but I'm going to just tell you whether or not it came true or didn't come true, or what we've seen from, first day in Bahrain. So it's much hotter than what we had in Barcelona. And therefore I was saying, grip is going to be at a premium. If the tires, Pirellis, they're very sensitive, they're very mercurial. If they get too hot, your grip just tapers off very quickly. So I think we're seeing that in combination with the wind, then in combination with Bahrain being dusty, then in combination with the more power and less grip, and everything's really challenging out there for the drivers, which is great. Hurrah. That's exactly what we were hoping for. And when I saw those cars driving out of increasing radius corners in Barcelona, I'm like, hang on a minute, that's got too much grip. We don't want to see that. We want to see the drivers' skills and, techniques and earning their money out there, at least on this channel, which is all about driving techniques. Then yeah, definitely that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Lewis spoke a lot about the wind. This is quite windy, 6, 7, 8 meters per second from the south and southeast. If I just jump you guys over to the whiteboard quickly, you can see that north is to the left. And then so therefore wind from the south or from the southeast will look something like that. And so it is tailwind down the main straight, the pit straight. And yeah, if it is southeast, then it will be also tailwinds into turn 9. A lot of struggles into that corner, decreasing radius, front left lockup. So we spoke about that in the live stream as well. So I'm going to talk you guys through a little bit of what Lewis had to say. We'll react to that. Some insights from turn 9 and 10. Why don't we start there actually, because in the live stream, I was saying, yeah, I've got my eye on turn 9 and 10. It's our only hope. The traction was really good in Barcelona. And just to give you guys context, if you're new to the channel, I was hoping for traction struggles out of increasing radius corners. I was hopeful for front lockups in decreasing radius corners. Hopeful for, ability to follow to be really good. And then you got direction change through sets of S's and how the cars ride curbs. And I'm watching a few different pieces and trying to give you guys an insight. The traction was, I drew a line through that one. The traction looks really good, but I still had open a few other cards as well, namely the braking into the decreasing radius 9 and 10 and possibility for inside front lockups. Let's have a look at them. And we spoke about it on the live stream yesterday. They did all come true. Now, what I will say, if you guys see this particular image, which we saw on Twitter, and someone tagged me in it, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, Gergo Baldi or Giorgio Baldi. Lower lap time, it's on. So yeah, we spoke about this a lot yesterday and I was keeping an eye out for this. The only thing I would say is, with all these aero rakes and the track being dusty, some of this will clean up a little bit as the test improves. This is probably one of the most representative ones. I think it's in the Cadillac because there's no bits and pieces hanging off the car. And so you've got to just put the picture in context as well. I'll show you guys another one. This one was probably the most representative and most significant out of all of the cars and all of the pictures. Number 1, it's a Mercedes. Number 2, it's in the hands of George Russell. Number 3, it's on the medium compound tire. Number 4, it's without all the aero rakes and sensors hanging off the car. So that's why this is a more significant lockup. And this one we can tick off and say, all right, they are actually struggling into the 9 and 10 decreasing radius corner as we predicted, as we thought they would, which is great because now we're going to see different lines, different setups, different challenges. What do you do now? Like, how do you solve for this problem? So there are many different ways you can solve for it, guys. If I just give you guys a quick overview, obviously it's brake balance is one of them. Brake migration is another one, how you shift your brake balance to the rear in the trail braking phase. Engine braking, another big one. Do you turn that up, downshift a little bit more? Front wing is a very underrated, underutilized solution when it comes to braking. A lot of people think, oh, more front wing, more front, more front grip, more turn in, more, car that's on the nose. But actually more front wing gives more vertical load under braking, can prevent some of these lockups as well. But the biggest one, of course, as well, is the line and the steering wheel. You can see George really, cranking the lock in on this car, unloading this inside left front, and that's why it's so easy to snatch. And again, you don't have the front downforce and front load that we used to have. So yeah, a lot of challenges, and hopefully I've given you guys a couple of solutions to think of. But then it's about the way you introduce the car to the brake pedal as well, and where you start braking. There are so many things, which is why I love it and why I'm fascinated by it, and hopefully I can share some of those insights with you guys. There was another shot here as well. I'll just share the final image that I had. Yeah, so like this sort of thing, if it's with the Mercedes on the hard tire with all the Aero sensors hanging off it, then I'm like, all right, whatever. But then you get like a more organic kind of, yeah. So that's why that previous Mercedes photo is very significant and more significant than the other ones that I showed you. Okay, let's talk about Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari. He's been getting a lot of attention on Twitter, on X or whatever, on the YouTubes. He's come out and done some interviews already after his morning session. He's been saying the cars are sliding around a lot. I gave you guys the context yesterday in the live stream that that's not necessarily a good thing. It depends. If it's a function of the regulations, then my approach would be, cool, we've got a problem here, we've got a challenge, it's exciting and I'm interested to work and solve it. That would be my tick on that side. Whereas if it's a function of the Ferrari and only the Ferrari, where all the other cars would look good, then obviously it's a negative on that side as well. So let me just find you guys a couple of different shots and clips, and we'll see what we can find. The other piece of context was that, like in Barcelona, I just thought the Ferrari looked better in the hands of Charles, firstly. And secondly, there was a variety of different mistakes from Lewis in Barcelona. We saw instability under braking, we saw traction issues, just weird spins and lockups, and deep at turn 10 as well. In the braking of turn 10, increasing radius, he went deep. So a lot of different stuff happened in Barcelona. I'll refer you guys back to my videos if you want to check that out. But let's have a look at a couple of different things. So this is Lewis on the hards, a bit of a spin. I can't make out what corner this is, unfortunately, but this is the first kind of piece that we can add to the story. There was a quote here from Lewis. Let's zoom in and see what this says. Lewis Hamilton, it's still too early to say anything. Overall, the new cars have a lot less downforce. We came here from Barcelona. It's much hotter and windier here, so finding the right balance is much harder. I agree. The wind was strong today compared to Barcelona, and we're sliding around a lot more. Cool, that's fine and totally normal as well. You wouldn't hold that against him. There's nothing, no news there. This was down at turn 1. He was seen facing the wrong way, and I think I have the video of that, which I'll show you. I know I'm dotting around pretty quick in this video, guys, but I want to show you that video. It's a really weird kind of spin because it happens so late in the braking phase. Leads me to believe that it's got to do with engine braking or brake migration, both of which kind of act at that later phase. The downshifts, that's the revs are starting to spike now, and that's on the engine braking side. And the brake migration side, maybe as Lewis is just starting to come out and turn into this corner, too much on the brake migration side. But then I also say, hang on, this is Lewis Hamilton, and we saw that rear instability in Barcelona. If I have the clip, I'll just share it with you guys super quickly because the context is important. Yeah, so it was this one here. So I'm watching the red glove where Lewis turns left into turn 5 or 6, I want to say, in Barcelona, the hairpin in the middle of the track. Watch the red glove. There's the big correction, and then you see Lewis turn in again. And that's significant for me because it's under braking, combined braking, instability in the rear on the entry, or classic Lewis Hamilton stuff. And then so we get the one that we just saw before, right down into turn 1 in Bahrain, and there's still that same kind of, instability going on. And it's like, look, as we all want to see Lewis and Ferrari back at the top, things don't look like they've landed in a good place, which is fine, which is normal. But then you've got to be motivated and love the process and curious and hungry for more success, and you need more things now to kind of sort this out. And I'm just not sure Lewis is up for that challenge. That's all. And we heard his interview with Lawrence Barretto. Have a listen to that. We'll listen to that together.
Not particularly, because it's the first day here. Obviously, no cars have been running, so it's track's dirty, sandy, and very windy. So you're just kind of sliding around. So it was just kind of brushing off the cobwebs, I guess. Yeah, over the next couple of days, the track will get better.
In terms of just your early feels with this car, does it feel a little bit better than maybe it did at the start of last year? Or is it too early to say?
Too early to say. Yeah, I mean I don't think today's felt good for anybody because it's so windy. So yeah, and it's the lowest. It's the lowest grip I've ever felt here in my 20 years. So yeah.
Lowest grip Lewis has ever felt here in his 20 years. A couple of things that I'll pull out from this video that I can share with you guys if I'm just reading between the lines. Firstly, terrible question by Lawrence Barretto. What was that? How does it feel 25 versus 26? Let me find that again.
Does it feel a little bit better than maybe it did at the start of last year?
Does it feel a bit better now than at the start of last year? Lawrence, they got nothing to do with each other, man. What are you talking about? We're not comparing apples and apples here. Completely different regulation set. Terrible question to ask Sir Lewis Hamilton if you had him in your hands. The response from Lewis was fine. And, everything Lewis says here is correct. It's windier, it's dustier, there's less grip. I get it. Everything is technically correct. However, the tone from Lewis, if I refer you back to what I said a couple of minutes ago about the willingness and the hunger and, the motivation to explore and problem solve and dig and dive and scratch around for lap time, which is what me and this channel are all about. And what I feel like Max is very much about as well is Max is invested in the process of digging and searching for lap time, whereas Lewis is like, it feels like shit and that's it. And it feels terrible. It's the worst grip I've ever had, and it's windy and dusty and leave me alone kind of thing. And that's where it's like, yeah, at that point, there are many other drivers who would die to be in this position and eager and willing to learn and hungry. I'm not saying he should retire, but I'm saying like, I'd love to see Lewis like acknowledge and appreciate and like take on the challenge a little bit more. It just seems to me like he's a little bit disinterested. I don't know. Take from that what you will, but yeah.
Or is it too early to say?
Too early to say. Yeah. I mean I don't think today's felt good for anybody because it's so windy. So yeah, and it's the lowest. It's the lowest grip I've ever felt here in my 20 years. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So someone who was hard at work, check this out, guys. We've got a few photos from Max Verstappen come through in the morning session or just after the morning, I believe. Yeah, a bit of tension in the face of Max. A lot of talk here, problem solving with GP and possibly some performance engineers, referring to the steering wheel here. If I'm reading into this, some kind of traction oversteer. That's how I would explain traction oversteer, which is drivability, which is on throttle. So if I'm giving you an example, and I'm truly stabbing in the dark here, but then my best guess would be out of like a turn 8 when he goes for the throttle from this slow 85 kilometers where downforce is not significant and traction is a big problem. Then Max, it looks like opposite lock with Max's hands there. So that's how I read that one. But this is someone completely different to Lewis, who's like, how do we sort this out, and hard at work here instead of like, the cars are sliding around. It's the worst in 20 years. It's dusty. It's grippy. There's nothing to learn. I might as well go home kind of thing. Max is, there's a lot of discussion going on here, guys. So I told you guys before that I don't need to see thousands of laps and hours and to give you guys a bit of a read on what's happening out here. I can already see that Lewis is struggling and he's not really that up for the challenge. And Max is also struggling, but looks like he's chipping away at it. And there's a lot of lockups, as we said, with the front load missing in the decreasing radius 9 and 10. So we're starting to paint the picture now as well. Now, I want to talk to you guys about deployment as well, because we spoke about this in the live stream. So come back over to the live stream. I wrote this yesterday on the whiteboard, and I said, what's going to happen down this pitch straight is they're going to deploy energy for a little bit, and then they're going to do this, run run the MGUK against the ICE. What does that mean? That means that you're essentially trading petrol. You're using the MGUK as a kind of brake to hold on a little bit to that power that's being done by the internal combustion engine. Essentially, you're trading fuel for a bit of battery down this pitch straight down here, because you want to squirt the car when it's low drag, but when the drag builds, you know, you'll just add on that MGUK a little bit, you know, to recharge the battery. Then you get the lift and coast situation happen here. I'll draw that in pink. There's the lift, and then you get the braking happen kind of thereafter. And so that's like all this sort of stuff is happening down the pitch straight. And that is how you recharge the battery via those two mechanisms. Number one, the lift and coast. And number two, running the MGUK against the ICE is one way. I brought up this picture as well. And we spoke about how they might want to deploy their battery, you know, progressive and gentle in the first instance, ramping up to the peak where there's low drag, and then go into this taper mode where you can conserve. You just bring it back down as the speed and drag kind of, you know, builds down that pitch straight. So now what I wanted to show you guys was a piece of telemetry from Max's car where we can see exactly what's happening. Let's have a look at that. So I'll pause it here and explain what's going on. This is the Verstappen dot coming out of the final corner. We're watching his full throttle. We're watching his speed. We're going to watch the brake as well. So let's have a look at that. So building speed very quickly, by the way. The thing accelerates quick. We're not even, you know, a quarter of the way down the straight. He's nearly at the 290. So the taper, by the way, guys, has to begin post 290, which is just there pretty quickly. So that's interesting, which means he's starting to already taper off. And he reaches top speed of 312 and it's kind of stuck there. What's happening now is they're running the MGUK against the ICE. And that's why you see it go down to 311, 310, and it's falling away even though Max's foot is still flat on the throttle here. And then what you should see hopefully is the lift and then the brake as well. So it wasn't the biggest lift and coast from Max. But that's the sort of, I'm just giving you guys the sort of how the straight will unfold so that you can kind of understand what's happening at different phases, right? Because there's the low drag phase, the traction phase, the low drag phase, the full boost phase, then the conservation phase, then the run the MGUK against the ICE phase, then the lift and coast. It goes on all the way down the straight like that. So yeah, I'll show you guys some telemetry as well. Check this out. So this is where down the pitch straight, you'll be able to see stuff like that. He gets to 313 very quickly. By the way, the acceleration of these cars is phenomenal as they deploy. But then you've got the whole tapering of the battery and, you know, the conservation and the regen and all that stuff happen. I wanted to show you guys as well. This is nothing new, by the way, guys. And I spoke about this yesterday in the live stream and said, like, everyone says, oh, lift and coast, that's right up Ferrari's alley. They'll be really good at this. And I said, no, it doesn't work like that. Like, this is very easy to implement as a driver and as a team. And it's just to what extent, you know, when do you switch the battery on? When do you go into your harvest? When do you do your lift? And it's just, you play around with that. And they've been doing lift and coast last year for a variety of reasons, whether it's for tires or fuel, for brakes, like, or for battery, you know, there's different reasons. So I'll show you guys a video of 2025 Max in Spain, and you can see the same phenomena happening. Let's have a look at that now. So this is Max down the pitch straight, 340 full throttle. Now you see the speed coming down, 339, 338, the throttle's still full, 336, 335. Again, so that's called the clipping. So either the battery's, you know, being turned off, or we're running the MGUK against the ICE to give us a little bit of juice, give us a bit of energy when, you know, we don't need it. So trade fuel for megajoules, basically. And then you've got the lift. There's your lift, and you notice no brake yet. And we're at the 100 here is approaching. No brake still. And then the brake here kind of between them at the 75. And so that's the lift and coast. That's where the MGUK can bite into some of that rear axle kinetics and then get the, you know, recharge the battery. So this was 2025. And like I say, we saw it before, difference in extent. We've got more battery now, and we're trying to charge it more and deploy it more efficiently. And there's different stuff happening. But I wanted to show you that video to give you guys that context in any case. I thought I'd share this shot with you. It's just a really cool high-res photo of the AMR Aston Martin Racing 2026 car, designed and led by Adrian Newey with the flow viz all over it, I believe in the hands of Lance Stroll here. It's just a high-res photo, guys. I'm not going to talk you through it. But because I don't fully understand this, that's why I'm fascinated by it, and I could look at it for a long time. And I just want to show you guys around, like, you know, this is cool. You know, this is art. This is Adrian's car that he's been working on for so long, and the team that he's led and inspired. And you can see some of the waves and structures, and this upwashing, outwashing floorboard, bargeboard piece. And look how uniform the flow is here. Even the dots through here, so there's like spray, and I don't know, guys, this is cool. I geek out on this stuff because I don't fully understand it. So that's why I probably enjoy it more than talking about driving. This is really cool. The fact that Adrian's created like a shape through here to create load or downforce. He shaped the nose like essentially like a wing as well, to get a little bit of vertical load even from the nose as well as from the front wing, which is cool. A lot of people saying that, oh, this is not just Adrian, this is a full team of people, to which I agree, 100% I agree. It's not just Adrian, but he is leading the team. And if you were to look at this car, knowing the history and the shapes that Adrian builds, you should be able to work out that this came out of the hands of Adrian Newey as well. So it's definitely got his touch on it, 100%. It definitely looks like Adrian's car. Go have a look at the 2005 McLaren for comparison to what I'm referring to. But anyway, beautiful, high quality photo. I don't know who it's from, but yeah, just get your hands on this picture and, and knock yourself out because it is really cool. There's a lot to admire, a lot to appreciate, and a lot of curiosity. You can just let your brain wander around such a photo. All right, let's move on to the second half of the day now. And we got to see the 1 hour broadcasted session, and I've got heaps of insights for you guys. So definitely stay with me. This is the first time I've been able to see the cars on track and start to verify and validate some of the things that I'm thinking and seeing. So definitely stay with me. Okay, the first thing I wanted to talk about was all the front lockups that we saw into turn 10, the decreasing radius corner, pretty much all the drivers. In the hands of the Ferraris, particularly Lewis Hamilton, it was the rear as well that was stepping out, in addition to the front. So a lot of the front, Checo was front, all the other drivers front, Max front, George front, everyone else front left. Hamilton as well with the rears. Check this out, guys. I'll share it with you now. But yeah, now you can see this is the rear again for Lewis Hamilton into turn 10. And that's similar to what we saw with Spain, turn 5 or 6, that hairpin in the middle of the track, which was the rear instability, where you guys saw the glove, no glove, glove. That's the same sort of action that we're seeing as well into turn 10. I'm starting to think, like, what is it about Lewis's entries that it's the rear that's kind of, Lewis is not unfamiliar to a front lockup as well. That definitely can happen, but it's also like he's always asking for rear grip on the entry as well. I think it's got to do with the way he combines, and it's the combines with the steering wheel, plus the pressure just upsets the rear and the balance that he likes in the car generally. But there, a lot of front lockups from other drivers as well. Leclerc on the outside front here, the left front. The Cadillac looks to have significantly less front load than all of the other cars at this stage of running. So I thought I'd share that with you and just keep an eye on that it's Lewis's rear entry instability that we're seeing time and time and time again. It's going to have to resolve for that moving forward. While we're still on the topic of lockups, there was a double lockup in the hands of Sergio Perez down at turn 1. Let me try and find the image for you guys. Yep, here it is here. So double lockup means both your front tires lock up. The reason this is significant is because it really shows a complete lack of grip out on track, and because the steering wheel is straight when this happens, and there's not much you can do about it. And when I say lack of grip, generally it's a lack of temperature. Could be track temperature, tire temperature, brake temperature, something not quite there. But we know we're in Bahrain, it's 30 degrees. It's probably not a tire temperature, track temperature. It could be cold brakes. It could be, But I'll just put this one down to just a lack of downforce, lack of front load. Again, I spoke about it, right? I said the Cadillac was, yeah, it's lacking front load. You can clearly see they're not generating the front downforce as much as some of the other cars. Now, I spoke before about adding front wing to the car and how that can increase vertical front load, which can help with locking. The Cadillacs don't have anywhere near the front load and front downforce as some of the other cars. And you can see in the lockups, this particular double lockup from Sergio Perez, yes, confirms that kind of hypothesis. And yeah, I think what they need to do is go back to the drawing board with the aero department and try to add more front downforce, similar to what you saw Adrian doing with that shape of the nose. Anything to get more front load is going to be helpful, not because it's going to give you more front grip in long corners. Yes, it does that too, but it's going to give you more braking capacity. And that's a huge low-hanging piece of fruit in these 2026 F1 regs. Now we got our first onboard in the hands of Nico Hulkenberg in the Audi. Awesome, super insightful. So again, just go over to the whiteboard. You'll hear this sort of deployment harvesting situation in action when I play you the onboard. So keep an eye out, keep an ear out for that. And crucially as well, listen for that extra downshift that Nico goes down. And the idea with the extra downshift into the corner is to increase the revs, increase the kinetic energy, and then transfer some of that kinetic energy across to the battery. A little tip and a little secret here is that I haven't really heard any of the drivers at the moment leveraging the plug shift, which is a really, really cool technique. It's different to a short shift. Let's start with a short shift. A short shift is when you're on throttle, you want to drive out of the corner and you pull that shift a little bit earlier just to bring the revs down, control the wheel spin. That's fine. The plug shift says you're going to go down that extra gear to get your charge for your MGUK, but before you go back on throttle, you're then just going to pull it up into the higher gear, let's say second to third, and then drive out of the corner in that higher gear, third gear. The reason this is so powerful is because you get your advantage with the MGUK and the higher RPM in the lower gear, but it doesn't cost you or limit you in traction where you're asking for throttle plus steering at the same time and you can break traction. You don't need to worry about pulling that gear, which can induce a bit of torque in the rear axle and can also break traction. No, you do it while you're off throttle in the middle of the corner of the plug shift. So that would be definitely something I'd be recommending to the drivers is like, yeah, go your extra downshift, but don't forget your plug shift. And then if you need to, do your short shift on the exit as well. Let's have a listen to Nico's, I think he did about a few corners or half a lap together. I'll try to find the clip and we'll listen to it together now. All right, here we go. So this is down the pitch straight. Listen for the discharge of energy, but then the clipping, the MGK, the lift and coast, and the extra downshift as well. Here we go. So keep an eye on the rev lights as well. Yeah. You see that, guys? You see how Nico went down to that extra gear and then traction struggles on the exit? The audio did cut out on the world feed, but watch the steering wheel. That's because Nico didn't do the plug shift. Crucially, shift up in the middle of the corner and then drive out in that higher gear would be a great solution for Nico out of turn 4. And so I wanted to show you guys, just keep an eye on down the pitch straight. Just watch the revs as well. Watch the rev lights. So I think it's building and then it comes back. And so you can clearly see at which point the MGUK grabs onto the ICE and starts to, you know, clip the engine. So, and then you've got the lift and coast as well. And then the gear, extra gear into turn 1. That one there. Yes, I'd love to see Nico do that plug shift, and I think that'll give him, yeah, it's better for fuel and tire wear and lap time, and it's just more comfortable experience. So I definitely would be recommending that, and I'm curious to see who will be the first driver to employ the plug shift. I have a feeling it'll be Max because it's a sim move, and yeah, keep an eye out for Max if he does that technique. It'll be Max or Antonelli, I reckon, will be one of the first ones. So let's keep an eye out and see which driver we see it in the hands of first. Now, while we're on that whole lift and coast clipping situation, let's have a look at this quote from Lewis Hamilton that's just come out again. I know I'm dotting around, but this information's just coming out very quickly. Let quote Lewis Hamilton from Sim, whoever that is, Sim Circuit on X. That's not what racing about. Sorry. That's not what racing is about, says Sir Lewis Hamilton while speaking on the new regs. If you look at Barcelona, for example, we're doing 600 meters lift and coast on a qualifying lap. Again, guys, the reason they're doing that is because they've got, you know, they're so stuck for battery. It's so easy to spend and it's so difficult to earn. And so they're balancing that like, yeah, I'm constantly out of battery, so I need to lift and coast, get the MGUK to bite into the ICE and recharge with the kinetic energy. That's the purpose of this 600 meter lift and coast during the quali lap. Lewis goes on, that's not what racing is about. Here in Bahrain, we're not having to do that because there's lots of braking zones. Okay, so this is the track to track variation that we're going to see. Every track is going to have that different power deployment and harvesting situation depending on the braking zones. Lewis continues, the low gears that we have to go down to is just because we can't recover enough battery power. We can't recover enough battery power, so that's why we have to go down and rev the engines very, very high. So we're going down to second and first in some places just to try to recover that extra bit of power. I guess what Lewis is alluding to in this whole stanza and paragraph here is this is not racing, you know, this is a very unnatural way to drive. You know, what does this have to do with qualifying? What does the lift and coast have to do with a pure expression of driving aggression in qualifying? Nothing. What about this extra downshifting that you wouldn't normally otherwise do? And therein lies the solution for the plug shift. The plug shift gets you back in the gear that you would ordinarily want to be in. Lewis is saying, why are we doing these extra downshifts? And this is all kind of not, you know, not like if you're an old school purist racing driver and you appreciate the expression of driving and qualifying, which Lewis does, I think he's got like 102 poles or something, then, you know, he's having a crack at the reg saying, what is all this rubbish? You know what I mean? But anyway, it is what it is. And Lewis is spot on about all this stuff. These are the limitations of having 50% of your power coming from a battery. And also the fact that you've got the 4 megajoule capacity in the battery, but the 8.5 possibility of harvest, that discrepancy already tells you, yeah, you want to be harvesting as much as possible because you can't store as much as you want. And so it's going to be that constant battle of deployment, harvest, deploy, deploy, harvest, harvest, deploy, harvest, deploy as you go around the lap. And that battery level will fluctuate from 0 to 4 megajoules of storage capacity. I wanted to show you guys Pierre Gasly's lockup into turn 9 and 10 and talk a little bit about line and why line is so important. Let's have a look at it together. So this is Pierre on his way through turn 9. The approach looks fine. The turn in, I would say it's a little bit early. And what that means, if you just watch the steering wheel at this point, he has to add more prematurely. So have a look at this. The steering wheel comes on. Now a big armful of lock comes in and that's when the lockup happens. So just have a look and see if you can spot the timing. I'll play it without interruption. Now there's a little bit happened initially, but now he realizes, oh, I need to turn a lot more because what's happened is here, watch this. He's angled his car to this like curb here. And then he realizes like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, I'm running out, I'm getting close, I need to turn away from that curb. And he's more reacting to the situation unfolding as opposed to anticipating the correct line. I always talk about line on this channel and you guys might think, hang on, racing line, like that's easy, that's straightforward. Open up the corner, carry the speed in and drive out. But it's not. There's so many other little things and little tips along the way. Like this one, for example, falls in the category of straight line braking. Then you got wet lines, short corners, tight lines. You know, even the preset in the box off the line, off the start finish line is a form of racing line. There are so many, it pops up all the time. So the reason I'm the reason I place so much importance on the racing line is because the racing line informs and directs the steering wheel what to do. And the steering wheel controls and informs what you can do with the pedals. Here you can see a perfect example of that. The moment Pierre adds that extra steering lock, that is when the lockup occurs. It doesn't occur at this gentle phase, but then the steering comes on there, bang, and there's your lockup straight away thereafter. That's the reason why racing line is king. It's not the only thing. There's heaps of stuff that makes it for a good racing driver. You know, it's mental capacity, awareness, anticipation, it's physical, it's technical, inputs, rates of inputs, how you use the controls, brake balance, diff, engine braking, etc. It's tactical, tire management, strategy, driving. There's heaps of stuff that makes a good driver. I get it. But if I'm talking about the single most important thing that you need to nail each and every single time, it is racing line, because that informs the steering wheel what to do. Let me jump you guys over to the whiteboard and draw out a quick track map. I'll show you what Pierre's doing. I'll show you what he's doing, why it's wrong, and then I'll show you what a better way through is. So I'll draw the 9 and 10 decreasing radius braking zone for you guys, and it kind of looks something like this. You've got that entry 9, and then it sharpens up for 10. Pierre's line, if I draw it for you in red as a kind of incorrect line, is that he's coming out there and then realizes, oh, I need to put a lot of steering lock in at that moment. That's where you saw the rate of steering change from being gentle initially, and then, has to sharpen up at that point. So what I would be saying to Pierre is, this input of steering lock is too much at a critical point in the braking zone, Pierre, and that's why you're getting your lock up. You don't want that. What you want to do is go around that piece. And so what you do is you do your rotation there, like here, crucially here, bring that forward and earlier, and then fire it in much straighter for the remainder of the braking. That's going to allow you to carry nice speed in. So we bring this rotation instead of later here, we pull it forward earlier. So it's like there and then there. And then you're less risk of the lockup there because you're not braking so hard. And then you straighten the steering wheel, go for the brakes. It's all good. So that is definitely the way through this corner. I know this sequence of corners exceptionally well, and done many laps around here on the sim, and yeah, I can say with 100% confidence that option line that I've drawn in green is better than the red one. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit more about the starts and practice starts. And I spoke about this in the live stream as well. And I said that the drivers are struggling to find their rev range. You know, you have a listen to it and the revs creep up and then pull back, or they go here and then they go higher. And there's a lot of inconsistency with the revs. I'll play the tape for you guys, and that was all the information I had at that time, but there is a reason and a purpose as to why the drivers are doing it. I'll share that with you in a minute, but let's have a listen to that variation in the hands of George Russell's practice start in Barcelona. Yep, so just listen out for the rev variation here with George. Okay, ready? So to come up. Did you hear that, guys? So it was kind of like higher, like call it, I don't know, 9,000. And then it came back to kind of 8.2, 8.5 something. And I was like, hang on there. The drivers are just trying to find their range here with the starts. They're not confident or sure, or they haven't worked it out, or it's a struggle or whatever. No, they're doing that to get the turbo to spin up, because remember, we don't have that MGU H anymore to help us do that. And so turbo lag is back. They're doing that, bring the revs up, get that turbo firing, and then just pull the revs down where they need to be and go. And then you can go with the turbo nice and spooled up already. You're essentially pre-spooling the turbo, pull the revs back to what they should be, and then go from there. Cool. So I learned something, and keep an eye out for that. You might see that more and more. There's no other way around it, really. That's the optimal solution. So Mercedes seems to be, I don't know, because it was different in the hands of Lando. You know, his revs were here and then went here when I showed them to you on the live stream. I just feel like Mercedes are, you know, they're across all this stuff, you know. So it's cool. I learned something. I thought I'd share it with you guys in that start clip. Yeah, quick note on Max Verstappen. I saw him with some traction struggles on the exit of the final corner, turn 15 in Bahrain. Interesting, because the way I read his body language before, particularly this shot, guys, was that it looked like on throttle traction oversteer. I mean, very loose stab in the dark from me, but it's oversteer of some kind. It doesn't look like it would be under brake. I don't know. I just feel like it would be on throttle. Anyway, check this out. We've got a shot of Max kind of power sliding with a bit of that oversteer out of the final corner, turn 15. I'll find the clip. I'll share it with you guys now. Okay, so this was the clip. The Red Bull in the hands of Max Verstappen, stepping out very sharply, very aggressively, the way it steps out. It's not something that happens progressively. It's just, it goes super quick. And that's a function of that electrical power just coming in too quickly. If I can give you guys another kind of second step insight, the traction and power delivery of the Mercedes-powered cars is noticeable for me at this point. The way that those power, namely McLaren and Mercedes, feed in that power so gently, so smoothly, so progressively, and gives their drivers, therefore, an easier time in this particular region. The traction issue, it's noticeable. The traction of the Mercedes-powered cars is very strong. Am I going to connect the dots and say, yeah, this is what Max must have been talking about in the garage, the traction issue? No, I mean, I can't say that for sure. But anyway, the drivers are struggling with a lot of different things out there. That's the thing. It's stopping the car, front locking, inside front locking. In the case of Lewis, rear locking. Then you've got traction in the hands of some of the drivers as well. Then you've got direction change, curb compliance, following. There's so many things that are going to be going on over the course of this season. So overall, if I can just take stock at this point and say, after Barcelona, I was a little bit down and a little bit like, we wanted to see them struggle and work and problem solve and technique. And, we want to see all that out there. And I was disappointed because I don't think we truly got that. But then is that a combination of, the better temperatures, less wind, cooler track conditions, maybe a cleaner Barcelona than a sandier Bahrain? Sure, maybe those are factors in there. But yet and still, I'm much happier now with what we're seeing. The drivers are having to work and problem solve and grind away and chip away and really find, like I said with Pierre, like find little like the plug shift or change your line. And there are little things that you can do to get yourself out of trouble. So hopefully with this channel, I'm trying to shine a light on those things and give you guys a different perspective, and also a way to look at the sport where you can see, if they only tried or did this, then it might help them make their job and life easier as well. So overall, like I say, I'm happier that we've got cars that are moving around more underneath the drivers in Bahrain than what we saw in Barcelona. I just want to finish on one quick note. Kimi Antonelli swallowing the entry width on the curb on the way into turn 11, the increasing radius corner. This is classic Kimi Antonelli, guys. And so I would be recommending this for such a corner, for an increasing radius corner, because what you want to do with this wide entry position, if I just pause it, is you want to carry speed through turn 11. You want to keep the downforce alive, keep the momentum alive, because when you go for the throttle on the exit of 11, you want to have a little bit of momentum, a bit of grip, a bit of purchase and downforce from which to drive through that increasing radius corner. And the wider entry helps you achieve that. So it's fine from Kimi. It's directionally correct. However, what I've seen with the regulations and the way the cars like to be driven, I think the tight line will be super powerful in certain situations, just not necessarily this one. So yeah, I think it's fine for Kimi. The only two things I would say is, number one, keep the car within track limits, of course. And number two, I just feel like it's a kind of late and aggressive dart to the right and then dart to the left. And you're kind of preloading the car and weights across the tires in the wrong direction initially too much, and then swinging all of that weight to the direction you want to go. And the car will not like that kind of transfer, that weight transfer, like go right, now go left. It doesn't like to do that. And that's not how you want to drive the car. So the only thing I'd say to Kimi is, if you're going to do that and open up your entry and avoid some of the rubbish, which you can see these black dots across here, the marbles, just initiate it earlier and a little bit smoother, go right and then go left, and don't do it so sharply, because it does affect your entry and mid-corner grip. So to go there and then there, the rear's got to do a lot of unnecessary work. That's all. So it's directionally correct from Kimi. open up your corner is fine. I would just say smoothen out the transition so that it's less notable and less dynamic for the car. That's all in this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, leave me a thought, question, or comment in the comment section below. If you're new here, subscribe to this channel. I'm going to put out a video each day of testing this year, and of course each session that we have in 2026. And yeah, let me know what you thought. What do you guys think of the cars? Did you learn something? You know, is there something I missed that I need to catch up on? Definitely let me know all those things in the comments. And all these little things, likes, comments, subscribes, and shares, they definitely help push the channel moving forward. And I'm grateful for that. If you could please do so, that'd be great. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow.